Hey.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, friends.
Hello, Internet.
Da 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 da. It's the motherfucking DMG. Snoop Dogg.
That's
I can't.
fantastic.
That's the best I've got off the top of my head.
Hey, you did it. You did the thing. We're
liked
here
it.
and we're live, and that was an amazing intro.
Thanks.
For another session of Notorious DMG.
Yes.
Who will survive?
Not me.
Most likely
Not Chuck.
party.
Not Chuck. Just scratch that one off right away.
Right.
Not Chuck.
That was an easy answer.
It was
Why
nice
are
of you to come back.
Yeah,
it
why
was,
are you
Right.
even
it was
here,
nice
Chuck?
of you to come back. Although we were giving you pretty solid signs that we didn't want you here, but
You know what? You can't get rid of me. My wife can't get rid of me, and you can't get rid of me. So deal with it.
That's fair.
Well, who believes they have the best summary of last week's events? I've got a pretty good one, but I mean, if anybody else feels like they can tackle it, I'd be willing to listen.
let's hear yours.
Oh damn! You really saw through my bluff. Well, while I vamp for time, Steven, how about you plug all of your YouTube stuff?
So I make the best YouTube videos about Dungeons and Dragons. The best. No offense to all y'all. And
Okay.
check out my channel, Steven the DM, as I will be having an unboxing of the new starter set for D&D Stranger Things coming out soon.
Oh, fancy.
I'm excited
look
for
at
that.
You.
Yeah,
That's
it doesn't even release worldwide until May 1st.
How did you get a copy?
I walked into a GameStop and they're selling them early by accident.
Yes, GameStop.
So exclusive.
Minimum wage employees doing their best to
Yeah,
not
so
mess up.
I got an early release.
You're gonna get a strike from.
Yeah, you got to think of a cooler story, dude.
Yeah.
Well, my good buddy Zhao Zam hooked me up. You know, he knows all the devs.
Tell everybody your uncle works at Stranger Things.
I thought you were gonna say you had lunch with
My uncle
Mike Merles.
owns Wizards of the Coast.
Oh,
So-
man.
Whoa!
That's a better story.
Ask him if I can get a car in Liberty.
He said no.
Oh,
You had lunch with Mike Merles, and he said, "You know what, Steven, you're such a cool dude. I'm gonna give this to you. Don't show anybody, okay?"
Yeah, actually, he was there and Greg Tito, and we all had a good time.
And Chris
they just
Perkins popped up
gave me tons and tons of merch.
from out of nowhere. Yeah, they
He
showered
does
you with
that though.
gifts.
If you knew him like I did, you would know he just does that.
That's so Chris.
classic Chris.
All right,
Who wants to plug themselves next?
Chuck, this is your channel. Why don't you do it?
Oh, shit. I'm Chuck, and I do stuff over on the Defenders of Cobalt, which is where this is at on Twitch. We play lots and lots of D&D, and we drink beer, and we usually just, say stupid things and roll dice, and yeah, that's it. I mean, simple, right?
It's the essential D&D experience.
Right.
That's
Beer,
goddamn right.
beer,
gonna-
stupidity, and dice.
Are you gonna challenge Steven on making the best D&D content on the internet?
Well, he's
Uh,
on Twitch, not necessarily YouTube.
Yeah,
I mean, he does some stuff on
right.
YouTube.
We're not
but
direct.
He's mostly Twitch.
Yeah, we're not direct competitors here.
Okay.
And he doesn't know Chris Perkins like I do. So.
I don't.
Really, who does?
Right.
Yeah, I was about to say none of us do.
Mm-mm. Okay, that's all I got.
Well, Bert, how about you hit us with the of Steam, Steel, and Murder elevator pitch?
Hey, you did a good job right there. I'm Bert, host and usual GM of Steam, Steel, and Murder, a podcast. I don't do video like all these great people here.
Me neither. I don't want any.
Podcasting still exists. It's great stuff. Where we play a bunch of random systems, sometimes long-term games. We got a few in there that have lasted years. And the cast is a bunch of people that have been with me from the beginning and fans of the show that have come on and decided to stay and play games as well. That is us.
I like it.
Yeah, you guys have a great name.
You really do. I appreciate it a lot.
Thanks. That took a lot of thinking up to get that.
I like that you are the GM of Steel and Murder. I like the double of. It's like when you have to hand write the word no one, and you're like, do I just put 2 O's here? I don't know. No one
Right.
knows, truly.
Yeah.
No one knows.
I mean, but come on, that's a very metal title. I'll
is.
own it.
It's a great title.
It puts epic images into my mind, which is really everyone in this entire goddamn hobby's goal. So you've succeeded.
Well, thank you. Our releases have been spotty at best lately, as my editing time has been taking longer and longer and longer. So I tried to release every couple of weeks. It's been every 3 weeks for a while, though.
I feel your pain.
Well, Mr. Henroth / Matt / Jauzam of Jauzam's Den, tell me all about this den in which you reside.
Well, this is my den, and my denzines are my viewers, and I do live plays and actual plays of various games, usually not D&D, everything else. So, you guys for all things tabletop RPG that I'm going to put out every Monday. So look forward to that, everyone.
I actually really enjoyed it. You did good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's a work in progress, but I saw a gap there, and I thought, well, nobody else is doing it, so I'm going to.
I really like that concept.
I actually was noticing the same gap like 2 weeks ago. Like, where is the RPG focused news? And I'm glad you're doing the show because I just don't have the energy for it.
There you
So
go.
they used to have All Games Considered was one that lasted for well over 10 years. It just recently stopped, so definitely there is a void now.
I'm going to pick up that torch and run with it. But it is a lot of work. As I'm finding out this week, I started collecting the news from this week as soon as the last episode went live, and there's no real way to find this other than digging.
It seems like
day after day after day.
It seems difficult to find news for a type of news that there is not already wide access to, so that you can then present it.
Yeah, it's an interesting challenge. I am not a journalist by trade.
I get all my tabletop RPG news actually from a YouTube show called Jauzam's Den, and they do a great job.
Yeah, if you check them out, they actually have a lot of content very similar to what you're describing.
Yeah,
Right.
They just started a new show. It's phenomenal.
Thank you.
That's where I get all my tabletop news.
Well, thanks, fellas. I appreciate that. But last but not least, that leaves Seth.
Oh my goodness. As always, I am Seth. I am the dungeon master and editor and producer and Lord of the Realm for the Monday Nights podcast. It is much like all D&D podcasts in that we play the game and record it and are insanely narcissistic. We also generally in a game in an hour and a half finish like 1 to 3 bottles of Jameson, and by the end of the episode sometimes people are asleep and I'm just like throwing dice at my players to get them to do anything, and that is my vast claim to fame.
That's fantastic.
I like it.
Very good.
I'm also the dungeon master of the current leg of the Notorious DMG, which you are now viewing and or later listening to.
That's right. And tonight is going to be the final chapter of our foray into D&D 3.5 for the time being. And after that, we're going to do a little roundtable discussion and chat of what we thought of 3.5.
Yeah, I've got a brief little list of topics that I want to cover regarding, just as a group of dungeon masters, kind of like breaking down how this game did or didn't go, what you guys did or didn't like, how scenarios occurred in this system and how they would occur in other systems that we are going to play. I've got a lot of points that I want to make when we get to that stage, but right now we are in the midst of a deadly combat. Last week, you guys solved the grand mystery. These 2 young men came to this town, Lithian and Linksys Router. They walked into this beautiful town of Belrath and they cast a spell over everybody. Probably just mass suggestion, but with a little bit more narratively based power. and convinced them that they were the dead children of the mayor, who had died several years back. And so the mayor like brought them in with loving arms. Everybody was so excited to have them back from this long military campaign and blah, 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 blah. And they've just been using the town basically as a source for money and fame. And it all got into Lithian's head because he is so beloved by the people. And Linksys Router, aka Lithian's little brother, really didn't like it. So he started summoning up stronger and stronger undead creatures to defeat his brother so that he could die. And because that's what evil people do. They get mad and then they split the party. But, you know, like ideologically, not physically. And after discovering this grand plot, you, gentlemen, assailed the 8-year-old Linksys Router in his bedroom. You defeated him, and you chased the sorcerer / butler Basil out into the hallway, where you all became blind thanks to Chuck's glitter dust, the only spell he ever actually wants to cast. That's
an amazing spell.
It's a great spell. You just used it so hilariously bad. After that, you guys ran out into the streets, couldn't see him anywhere, and you tracked Lithian down up on top of the wall, and you saw that he was with another hooded figure in a robe, much like his own, who turned out to be a copy of Lithian, the only person he can truly love himself. And combat began. During this combat, you guys basically had to fight the 2 copies of Lithian who were throwing all kinds of spells and enchantments at you and whatnot. After a couple of rounds of combat, Basil reappeared after turning invisible behind Chuck and stabbed him straight through his heart and killed him in one strike.
Yeah, murdered the shit out of me.
So now Henroth, Mornath, and Doric are standing on the walls of this town, surrounded by stunned onlookers. They have killed one of the 2 instances of Lithian and nearly killed Basil and the other. And they themselves, I think, are relatively low on health, although I was mainly using like weird debuff and enchantment spells because that's kind of what they had prepared.
You got me down to 4 hit points in one leg.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that was honestly, you deserved it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I believe our initiative order was Henroth, Mornath, Doric, my dudes.
I think Mornath went before Henroth.
Was that the case? I think you are right. I think it was one of my enemies, bad guys, whatever, Mornath, Henroth, Doric, bad guy.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'll say we'll start at the top of a round, because I don't remember exactly where we left off. Mornath, you have about 25 feet to your north, the wounded but still slinging spells Lithian, who I believe you have enchanted to be like a pacifist for, I think, one more round.
One more round sounds right, yeah.
And behind you, about 15 feet away, standing over the corpse of your friendly wizard Acadius, is Basil with his masterwork katana.
Okay, so about 20 feet away, you say?
Yes, sir.
Question about 3rd or 3.5 edition D&D.
Yes.
Do spellcasters use material components?
They absolutely do. And if I was asking all of you to not only create characters in this incredibly complex system and to play it completely theater of their mind over the internet and also understand and use all of your spell components correctly, I feel as though I'd be asking too much. And up to this point, I've required and asked of basically, I honestly could care less about spell components for the most part, outside of like diamonds for Revivify and whatnot.
Well, hold on to your hat, because here's my idea. Since he's still a pacifist, if I ran over there and wrenched away from his body all of his spell components...
That is exciting. Generally, I only care about spell components when it's like really narratively exciting and satisfying, and this is exactly what that would be. So go right to town. Run over there and give me like a sleight of hand.
Coolness, I do that.
Because generally, directly hostile actions would awaken him from his pacificity, if that's what that would be called. Pacifism? I don't know. So, I mean, if he just doesn't really notice you doing it, then he probably won't freak out. But if he notices you doing it, he might freak out.
How's a 13? As I come over and say, "Buddy, pal," and put one hand on his shoulder and one hand going for those spell components.
He does have a great perception, so we'll see how this goes. Hey, okay.
If I may, so I have my hand on the spell component satchel, and I'm about to lift it off, and he notices it. Can this now become a struggle?
I would say
I don't care if it breaks. At this point, it doesn't matter if it breaks the spell. I just need to have him not casting spells.
I will say that you grabbed his pouch of spell components off of his belt and ripped it away. And at that point, he is going to turn and just try to punch you with his hands.
Both of them.
Those soft,
both of his
soft
hands at once. Well, I don't think he does it. You're a pretty crafty guy, and you just like sidestep his fist.
Yeah.
And that would bring us to Henroth. You have taken all of his spell components, and now I don't even have to look at his character sheet. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, so we just took a swing at Mornath.
Yes.
Well, my Hippogriff just landed last turn next to him, so it can use 3 attacks. Did not. Okay, so let's start with the Hippogriff.
Okay.
So he does claw, bite. So let's do the 2 claws. Oh man. Okay, let me get my advanced dice roller open here.
Oh shit.
Claw number 1.
Oh.
What do your claws do? Oh, not that crazy. I'm just gonna roll all my to hits, and then we'll do damage. How's that sound?
Fine.
Okay, so second claw misses, and finally his bite. Chomp. I'm guessing an 11 does not hit him.
No, sir.
Okay, so just one of the claw swipes got him. I don't know what a hippogriff claw looks like, but it does 8 whopping damage.
Hey, nice. That's max. And this was on Lithian?
Yes, whoever is the closest to Mornath and I.
Okay. You have slain the second iteration of Lithian.
All right, my hippogriff goes.
So as he's like ducking and weaving the talons and the massive beak of your hippogriff, one of the claws gets through and just like reaches inside of his ribs and crushes his heart.
Oh goddamn!
It lets out. And now, so is the other one close to us as well, or no?
Yeah, he appeared at the back of the group where Acadius was.
Okay, cool. I'm going to try to hit him with my quarterstaff.
Okay.
My electro quarterstaff. So many boxes.
Hey, nice.
Does that hit? I don't even know what I'm looking at.
No.
Hitting AC 3, fumble 6. No? Okay. All right, swing and a miss with my quarterstaff.
All right, that brings us to Doric.
I'm going to scream in agony and cast Cure Moderate Wounds on myself.
Smart idea.
We're level 3, right?
Yeah.
9 points.
Hey, not bad.
And I'll end my turn.
Excellent. So, Basil, the lone swordsman who has taken a bit of damage, he stands at the other side of, not like the other side, but like you guys are standing along the same stretch of wall, 15 feet apart or so. He says, so, it has come to this. The boys have been slain. And he is pondering what to do with the boys having been slain. He says, I do not think I can defeat you. Would you rather take me alive?
Yes.
Question. Did we figure out if he is under the spell and actually thinks they really are who they're pretending to be, or did he know that they're imposters? Did we figure that out?
He knew.
Says, no, I was in on it the whole time.
Okay.
He knew what you were thinking.
So you want us to let you go, Basil?
I mean, it is obvious that you all now could apprehend me quite easily, the four of you.
You killed my friend.
You're right, the three of you. I'm just saying I have no means of defeating a group of three, especially without any cohorts, so...
But you know what you do have, man? Do you know what you do have?
A
You
will
got the
to
key
live
the
and a lack of a desire to
That's
fight.
what you have, the key to the treasury. I'm thinking some payoffs here would be nice.
Just drop your weapon.
He throws down his weapon.
I'm gonna like hobble my way over, kind of like just scooting with my one leg, and I'm going to claim the sword for myself.
You now have a +1 masterwork katana.
What about my friend there? And he points to Acadius.
He says,
"I mean, anything about him?"
In the situation, I felt as though the two Lithians and myself could defeat you all, but now it appears I have misjudged the situation. I wouldn't have taken his life if I had known I'd be giving myself up, you see.
All right, down on your stomach while we decide what to do.
He lays down
Face
on his
down
stomach.
on your stomach.
And I'm going to instruct my hippogriff to sit on him.
The hippogriff sits on him. He says, "Is this truly necessary?"
You know, one
Yes,
can't...
he killed one of us. Yes, it is.
So that is an incredibly fair point.
I say we kill him. It's what St. Cuthbert would want.
I agree.
Justice.
He killed Acadius.
He says, "You have killed two young men, regardless of their evil intentions. One of them was 8.
All right, I start scuffling over to him, and
No,
I pull out
look.
my cudgel, and I hit him on the head.
Okay, I'm going to say you get a
can't
coup
put
de
a
grace
price.
attempt. So
Are you trying
basically,
to
you get
kill
a
him, or are you
free
trying to-
critical hit, unless you're trying to just knock him out.
I want to hurt him, but I don't want to necessarily kill him. I just want to knock him out for now.
I mean, you can basically, no rolling, successfully knock him out. Like, he really can't fight back, and you are a pretty strong guy with a cudgel.
All right, so he's unconscious then?
He's unconscious, and there's a little crack on the back of his head with a little bit of blood coming out.
That felt good. I needed that.
You just hear, "No," and now silence.
I say we get a rope and hang him up.
They hung a rope in Texas by the tall oak tree. Like that.
Should we tie him up next to Titticum or whatever his name is?
Tillicum.
No, I
Tillicum's
meant
skeleton?
Tillicum is tied up.
Yeah, we tied up his skeleton in case it reanimated.
I thought Tillicum was a giant whale.
He is in the
in a different world.
non-Forgotten Realms.
Oh, my bad. I forgot.
I named him
He's,
after the
heel
giant whale, though. No one else in the game before you joined knew who Tillicum was, and I got to explain live on Twitch how SeaWorld is horrible.
Oh, good to know. Well, I kind of meant that we would tie him by his neck, not necessarily around his torso.
And shrugs. I'm not against this.
Mornath?
You got any problems with this, Mornath?
Knock yourself out.
All right,
I
Basil.
mean, I knocked him out.
Okay, he can't hear us. Okay, Basil. All right, let's string him up. Hey, where's the king? Hey, king! King!
Yeah, at this point, a relatively large crowd has gathered.
Because we're on the wall, right?
Because as soon as Lithian died, the spell was broken. So everyone maintained the memories of Lithian and Linksys Router living in the town for a few months. But they also got back their memory that that's totally a fucking bullshit lie. So everyone watched you guys kill Lithian and started cheering. And they all want you to kill Basil bad.
All right, well, I start tying a noose, and then I'll loop it around Basil's head, and I'll wrap the other side of the rope around like a, what's it called in the wall? Crenellation? Is that
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And I'll just throw him over the edge.
Excellent vocab word for the week. Crenellation and or crenellated buildings in general. But yeah, do you just want to like kick his body unceremoniously off the wall and have him hang?
For St. Cuthbert. Have you heard the good news?
Well, he unceremoniously slaps up against the side of the wall and wiggles for a bit, and after 3-4 minutes, he stops wiggling.
And I'll drop the rope.
And he hits the ground. It's nasty. Everyone is like, "Oh man, we were really excited to like see our vengeance be had, but damn, that was gross when he turned purple and hit the ground."
I fight for justice, not vengeance.
They're like, "Hey, thanks." Yeah, the mayor / king. I've used both terms. I think I've also used baron once or twice. He comes out of the palace now fully awake from his magically induced slumber, and he also has his memories back. And he goes, "Oh my goodness, boys! Please come down from there. We have much to discuss."
Sure.
I could use a hand standing up, or a leg.
Oh man, if I had a soundboard with a good like badoom tiss.
All right, I'll help him up. Doric.
Okay.
I'll give him a shoulder to lean on. Actually, you can my hippogriff. You can sit on him till he flies away.
Nice.
I get queasy with heights. Can I just borrow your quarterstaff? I'll trade you this really cool sword.
Henrath's size. Okay, I guess.
Here, take the sword.
It's not every day you get to ride on a hippogriff.
It's every day I don't want to ride on a hippogriff.
All right, pal, your loss.
All right, so let's hobble our way down.
Well, yeah, much like the first time you arrived in this town, you are all once again walking through the city streets to cheers and applause and like a hero's welcome. It's the end of Star Wars. It's amazing. Everyone's so happy. And
which one of us is the Wookiee?
The hippogriff.
Yeah, probably the hippogriff.
Yeah.
So you guys approach the mayor. He says, "Well, you all have done more for our small town in just a short 2 days than I can even imagine. I thank you greatly for the service you have provided us. I honestly have no words. How did you figure it out?"
The little one,
stupid and enchanted.
Yeah, the little one wasn't very good at lying. I saw right through his lies.
He was. Oh, what was his name? He was such a little dickhead.
Acadius.
Hey.
Oh, that's right. Let it forever be known in the history of Belrath that Acadius. What was his last name, Chuck? Acadius Aves?
Aves.
Acadius Aves is the worst evildoer who ever came to this city.
Wait. I think we're talking about different people.
And then the crowd starts cheering and chanting, "Fuck Acadius! Fuck Acadius!"
Wait, no, I didn't mean it.
These all see like all the scribes are already like writing it down. They're like putting up posters.
Oh, that's beautiful.
He says, "Well, seeing as I have no living heirs, I suppose, in my eventual passing, I will leave Belrath to you, because obviously you 3 now instead of 4 have a much greater deal of judgment and
No need. We do this for free. Just give your land to the people."
I mean, I pretty much already do. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm not really saying you can have like the deeds to all these people's houses. I'm just saying that you can make the decisions for this place once I have passed into the ether.
Nope. They should elect their own headman. We do this just for the joy and because we like losing legs.
He raises one eyebrow.
We will refuse any payment that you give us.
No, I won't. I will take payment.
Okay, maybe just enough to feed the hippogriff. It eats a lot.
He says, "Well, I mean, those of you who are not super huge Cuthbert nerds, What would you accept as reward? I give you anything within my hold, and the hold itself, if you would have it.
Yes. Give us a horse and wagon, so we can carry our riches away with us. Because we're gonna leave this hellhole as fast as possible.
Hey man, I'm just saying, for most of our lives here, for as long as I've been alive, it's been a pretty happy little beautiful hamlet.
Come to think of
this
it,
is probably the
guys...
most exciting thing that has ever happened here, and it only involved characters of up to level 5. So
my listen, you got a dead hill giant. My friend up there's like nobody's gone to go help.
As soon as you mention Tillicum, he just starts bawling his goddamn eyes out.
My friend up there is dead, and nobody's done anything to even clean up that mess. Like your healers,
to be fair, they don't like Acadius.
He says, "Ah, yes, your friend Linksys Router."
No, he's not Linksys Router.
May we build a memorial in his name?
His name is Acadius, and what's your bird's name?
Tito.
Robert Paulson.
And Tito will peck all your eyes out for this.
Says, and what of you, Mornath? You have been the strong, silent, and relatively shady one through all of our dealings.
Mornath is doing his best to actually conceal his face, because there was the whole run-in with all the nobles' daughters and wives that he's actually trying to get away from this town for. Yeah, so gold would be nice. He nods along. The horse and carriage to carry stuff would be really good too.
So none of you wish to one day be the mayor of Belroth?
No, this place is terrible.
Yeah, it's kind of a dump.
Man, that is so rude. All right, well, I mean, if you just want all of our money so that we can continue having our little shithole to ourselves, I suppose I'll give you a wagon and some horses so you can leave.
Come to think of it, a crutch or something like that would be nice.
Yeah, look at this guy's leg for him. Get one of your healers. Look after this.
It says, we shall have the finest leg in all of the lands constructed for you.
And I have no doubt that within 9 months, your citizenry will swell.
He says, I truly hope so, if we are just going to empty the coffers for you. And he asks, what do you gentlemen plan on doing with such a great sum of gold? And as he says this, 7 or 8 servants start coming out of the palace with they're just leading horses that are carrying wagons, full of gold, you brought to the town in the first place. You would assume that you're getting paid, maybe I don't know, in the 250,000 range.
And we're getting a lot more.
Just something, you're getting about that amount in these wagons.
Okay. I nod my head approvingly.
That's too much. That's really too much. Just take it back. Take it back.
No, my friend died here. This doesn't
You're
even
right.
cover.
We should set up a trust fund.
No, it doesn't even cover
Linksys' name.
His name isn't Linksys.
I only knew him for 3 hours.
Linksys was the little puke that we killed.
So which one was Acadius?
Acadius was the PC who died. Chuck's character was Acadius.
Yeah. Henrot's gonna point at the splattered blood stain up on the wall. That's Acadius.
No, that's the butler.
Oh no, that's the guy that we just hung.
I can't tell if you are in character confused and doing a great bit, or if you actually are not understanding who these people are.
I understand who they are.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I can just be a dick sometimes.
We just hung the butler.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I agree.
Okay, I'm gonna need this money to help my grieving.
Why don't we set up a trust fund in his name for his children?
I don't think he had any children.
Well, then
He says, I think you should set up some sort of organization or department of gentlemen who go around doing good deeds such as this.
Don't you have a fighters guild?
The Department of St. Cuthbert. I like it.
No, don't.
Guys, do you remember in the Discord when we were talking about how we might have one consistent universe for all these, and I said I could edit the ending of mine to include the beginning of the Department of Mysticism and Gods?
Right. Wink. Yes.
He
that
says,
sounds
please,
fantastic."
Henroth, check the Discord for me.
Okay, he pulls out his phone. Oh, right. That's okay. Yes.
So he says, so I'll ask you again, would you like either my town or all this money or both?
both.
I like the Temple to St. Cuthbert idea.
both.
He says, yes, the temple, of course. We can. How about this? Your reward, Doric, we will put up a statue in your honor and we will convert as a whole town to St. Cuthbertism.
I don't mind it.
And a temple to Acadia. A school of magic named after Acadius.
There you go.
Yes, and we shall give him a fine plot out in the graveyard.
Yes, I want you to construct his mausoleum out of the bones of Titacum or whatever his name is.
How about instead of we desecrate the body of one of my closest friends of all time, we just build a mausoleum in Acadius's name, and inside of it are both Acadius and Tillicum, so that they can both be remembered as the heroes that saved the town like they were.
No.
The bodies
Tillicum...
have to be burned. You have to dig up every body in the graveyard and burn all them, because this place is a horrible haven of necromancy, and there can be no corpses ever.
He says, I mean, I'm just saying there was one necromancer ever. Like, I mean,
I said no more
it's
ever.
going great for the average town these days.
He's not wrong. This place is tainted.
Yep, I'm never.
He says, shut up, you're tainted.
Single tear down Henroth's face.
Don't listen to him.
No.
You're not bad. You're just greedy.
I know.
Well, this is the superhero ending where one of you is like, well, I guess, what are we, Avengers? Or something?
Sure, the hippogriff says that.
Yeah, the hippogriff is, what's his, Fury, the or Samuel Jackson.
He's got an eye patch and everything.
Yeah. I guess that would make Acadius Spider-Man?
Well, if we're going off Avengers, the first movie, was it Coulson who died?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Acadius was Agent Coulson. This is nice. We should do a Avengers recap every time at the end.
Which Avenger were you?
It could be like one of those Facebook quizzes, you know?
There you go.
But yeah, you all get 250,000 gold, and your choice of one day, I mean, the eventual and probably imminent death of Mayor Sumpata, owning and or operating the town of Belrath.
Okay, well, we're going to run into the ground even more.
Nice. And that's pretty much, it's pretty much every single thing I had for you guys.
Nice.
Well, thank you.
Hey, no problem. And the primary important thing that I wanted to state going into our like post-game discussion type stuff is that I think it would be very healthy and positive for us to set a precedent and standard right now for the type of criticism we give each other. And I play D&D very publicly pretty much constantly and have absolutely no problem hearing if it absolutely sucked ass or if it was uninteresting. And I also have absolutely no problem telling you guys when I play your games if they suck ass or uninteresting. Because I feel like people who do this as much as we do and make it as much of our lives as we do would like to know those things as opposed to not know them. And so basically what I'm saying is I think throughout all the post-game discussions and the criticism and the whatever, we all be as forthright and honest as we possibly can be so that we can all learn from our experiences in like a less sheltered environment, I guess.
I feel like you're trying to tell me I suck ass.
No, I'm just saying, like,
No,
I'm an incredibly self-conscious person, and if any part of that really, really sucked, I would like to know how it sucked so I could fix it. Also, if you really, really like some parts, I would like to know those as well. I'm not saying that we can only say negative things, just that I would like for our criticisms to include honest positives and negatives. Hopefully not equally, but, you know.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
Cool. Well, I'm going to pull up the list really quick on my phone of primary things I wanted to talk about. But the number one thing, and probably the easiest to get into, would be asking you cats, did you enjoy the game?
I sure did.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I did.
Nice. Do you guys, I mean, since this is the first time we're doing it, I guess we can kind of set the precedent and format now, but like, what would you guys would you guys want to go over directly things you did and didn't like in great minutia and detail, or?
Oh,
I mean, I
Like
don't.
a round table. I didn't dislike anything.
I
thought I had a lot of fun. This is my first foray into 3.5, but I just had a lot of fun playing your adventure and your quest that you did for us.
I'll second
neat.
that. Yeah,
It doesn't
absolutely
yeah.
agree.
like it has nothing to do with the system itself. It's just you ran a good fun game.
Right?
I am now blushing.
Now 3.5 itself. Let me ask you guys this: would any of you who haven't run it or don't run it, would you run it now after playing it?
No.
Okay, so this was incredibly nostalgic for me because I learned 3rd edition first. This was my first system. I would never go back to running this after playing it again. Like it would just be like banging my head against a brick wall.
Yeah. No, I had a
But
lot
had
of
fun.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun in this game. There was a lot of, it was definitely neat to see it, but it's just there's a lot of complications to it.
And it might be different if I didn't have like a 10-year gap where I last played 3.5 and now, but just like there's so much number crunching just in like the basic characters building that I did. Like I didn't
Yeah.
spend that long building my character, but I tried to go through it and make sure I built it the right way. And
Yeah.
it's just a lot more complicated than I prefer nowadays.
Well, it goes actually a step beyond that, because if you were playing this as a campaign, it is utterly important that you have an idea of where you want your character to be in 5 levels, 10 levels, etc. Because if you don't get
Absolutely.
the right things to begin with, you're screwed.
Yeah.
And see, that is something I try to combat as a dungeon master, because like Bert, I've run a weekly game for nearly 10 years now every Monday, and I think we've made it through probably like, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 campaigns in that range. And generally in the 6 to 8 months that they last, we go from level 1 to 2 up until about 13 to 15. We've only ever had one game go from 1 to 20. And yes, in the end, going from 1 to 20, if you're not like really, really on top of having like a long-term plan for your character, it can get pretty nightmarish. But also, I mean, a lot of the things I try to combat, especially with 3.5, are like not really caring about the exact minutia specifics of like the movement system, because it just bogs down combat, which is already so slow with the number crunching, which is why I try to play primarily Theater of the Mind, just because it's easier to just say like, you guys are in like a little cluster, 20 feet left and 20 feet right, there are bad guys, blah, blah, blah.
And you did an excellent job of running combat too, where we didn't get bogged down like that. I didn't feel like combat was a slog like sometimes it can be when you're just dealing with minor details. You did a good job keeping it moving.
So
I appreciate that. It was like my
that.
primary focus going into any combat, especially with us being on Roll20. Like in person, I can draw like a quick chicken scratch map and say like, these 3 dots are you guys, these 2 dots are over here, like, this is roughly 20, 15 feet, whatever. So over this, I was trying to be as vague as I possibly could, and if you guys asked for specifics, I gave specifics that were favorable to the idea that I thought you were trying to present.
A question, though. The way 3.5 is built, though, if you go Theater of the Mind, doesn't that create other problems? Because there are certain skills and abilities that are very precise. If you are within 5 feet, if you are within 20 feet, doesn't that slow you down? Because now...
With a lot of things like that, I remove the hard rules and replace it with GM fiat, which is a very contentious idea in a lot of gaming communities. But basically, like if my characters are in melee combat and something says characters are within 5 feet can be affected by this spell, if like mathematically in my head, keeping track of it, they would have been 10 feet away and not quite there yet, it's like it's a swift action or a free action, I think, in Pathfinder and 3.5 to take a 5-foot step. I mean, as long as it's not game breaking and as long as there's some, narrative satisfaction to it, I let a lot of those small things slide. Just in the flavor of having fun playing a game, which is my primary goal.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot of minutia specific stuff in 3.5. And if my characters invest time into those things, I will make those opportunities more available, Like when a character has a druid, you make more nature-based things occur around the druid because it's things that they can interact with positively. And when you have a rogue, like now there are traps in the dungeon when there's a rogue. And when there's not a rogue, you're like, well, no traps are going to be in this dungeon because it would just be lame for everybody to not be able to trap sense because that's how 3.5 works.
So the question is then, why bother to play 3.5, which is set up specifically to have minutia and rules for everything? Why don't you play an earlier version that is set up for GM Fiat specifically?
I think it's because I like a lot of the thematic and aesthetic elements of 3.5. Also because it is the first tabletop game I learned, and I, as the dungeon master, know how the numbers of the game work so well that, like, this entire time we were playing, in every combat and in every single scenario, I had no stat blocks prepared. I did not have, like, books or characters in front of me. I was just making up the numbers as I went along.
So did you say it was due to nostalgia and also because you're comfortable with it?
Yeah, and it's probably coming from my perspective primarily as a dungeon master. Like the big part of why I'm doing this is I'm comfortable playing any game. Like, I would play any game to have fun if it's primarily GM Fiat or narrative driven or heavy combat or whatever. I'm just going to have a blast. But with 3.5 or 3.5 specifically, I can create something like this that is relatively engaging and balanced without a great deal of effort, which allows me to focus more on, like, narrative details as opposed to mechanical ones.
And that brings up the next point I was going to say is that 3rd edition is really not.
Uh-oh, are you still there?
We lost Steven.
Great, because what?
We lost
you. You're back.
You broke
I'm
up.
Sorry, my internet's being weird. My point was that 3rd edition is friendly. Like, the reason this worked and was so much fun is because you have experience as a DM playing this for 10 years, like you said.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, I've always had the opinion it's more important for the DM to be comfortable with the system than a player. Because, a DM can guide a player through, whereas, players...
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like,
do you ever
early
have...
on, in the first couple sessions when you guys were making your skill checks, I would say, like, roll survival or perception. And if you haven't trained in that or you don't even know what that is, just roll a d20 plus your wisdom modifier.
Right.
Like, just little things like that, just knowing all that stuff off the top of your head. I try to create a game where the players can do literally whatever they want, like, say whatever they want to do. They don't have to, like, perform in, like, preordained moves that... that's the reason I haven't switched to 5th edition or 4th edition, because they are very, very, I guess, like, narrow scoped in my mind. I don't really know how to explain it very well, but I feel like just with the way this game has so many avenues for minutia, there are a lot more ways for me to take, like, outlandish character ideas and think of a way that mechanically I can get them to function based around dice rolls and or modifiers and, the other tools that D&D gives you in general. I just feel like there's a lot more framework within 3.5 to play a game off of, if that makes any sense.
That's interesting, because I feel it's the opposite.
You feel as though it's
I
too
feel
much
like
framework?
5th edition is much more free and open to do whatever character you want to play or whatever action you want to pull off.
Well, and I'll say that I personally feel that 5e is a good game, but I find it's limiting in what you want to create. You don't get that unique character a lot.
Yeah, I feel like
a fighter, a druid is a druid, and there's, like,
exactly,
little
it's like
variations and deviations, but there's only a few options. Whereas, like, I've never played 3 or 3.5 or Pathfinder even, but with all of the options and the toolkit that you have, all the tools in your toolbox, you can truly make whatever concept
That's
you
true.
want.
Well,
But-
I would go the opposite on that as well, because that is even more of a constraint, because you can only make a character in that there is a rule for it. Whereas when you don't have rules for it, you can make whatever you want. So like if I make two fighters, and let's just say D&D 5th edition, right? Two fighters at the same level, basically you're going to have the same abilities. But how I choose to play that character is like, oh, well, I'm going to be a specialist in tracking and bows, so really I'm more of a ranger, and I'm choosing to play my character that way by weapon selection and my personality.
Right.
And I find that is a lot more freeform and enabling than having a list upon list upon list of skills and rules and things you have to tack on.
I completely agree with, honestly, with both sides of that argument. And it's probably a lot of this is my rose-tinted glasses and nostalgia and personal experience with 5e and with 3.5. But with what your point was, with how if you make two fighters, they're the same level in 5th edition, in my experience, like, I mean, aside from personality and roleplay things, which are the main reason I play these games, but like the mechanics of basically every 5th edition Hexblade Warlock, everyone who's playing a 5th edition Hexblade Warlock on this planet right now is like playing the exact same character from a mechanical standpoint. And they may roleplay them differently, and they may have multi-classed, or they may have a different starting weapon from the 4 that you can be proficient in as a warlock. But from my perspective, having the mechanical framework to build that separation off of helps me a lot to get into like the expanded like roleplay options as well.
The interesting thing about that point, though, is that you said yourself you don't use a lot of the stats that and mechanics that are already made. You already know the numbers yourself.
Yeah, and so you have more ability to GM fiat things when you have less rules than when you have more rules.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is I have more of a basis of like a framework to build decisions and thoughts and character options on. Like in 3.5, there's rules for every single possible concept you can imagine in any given situation. Somewhere there's a giant tip forum with a comment from a Wizards of the Coast employee who said, yep, it goes this way for sure. When you're underwater and you cast Spider Climb and you're a 18th level Dwarven Defender Paladin, blah, blah, blah. In this exact situation, this is exactly how it goes. And that's something that will never, ever come up ever again. But having that level of specific minutia to reference, I guess, helps me as a dungeon master and as a player kind of like make decisions based off of it. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely, it makes sense. I just personally,
It definitely, I understand what you're saying.
not
100%.
having all those rules.
Bert, in that like it is very hypocritical of me to say that like the thing I like about 3.5 is like the minutia and the depth of the numbers of it, and then say that another thing I really like about it is how many of those things I can ignore. Like that is a very dumb point to make, and I completely agree. And I think about it a lot with like our game that we play for our weekly podcast, because it's like we get very high and mighty about the fact that we play the rules heavy, super complicated D&D 3.5, but also we just gloss over a lot of those rules. And basically the type of 3.5 that I play, I basically have just gone through over years and years and years and picked and chose the bits of it that I really, really like, and dropped the things that I think either slow down the game or have little to no narrative impact. And yeah, no, I completely understand your point, and I do agree with it. And I think it just depends on like a person's like personal style of being a dungeon master. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, you're absolutely right. It always comes down to your play style.
Yeah.
There's a reason why 3 was so popular and spun into 3.5 and spun into a competitor game by another company and was like the reigning king forever. There is an audience for this. You don't need to defend it, Seth.
No, I'm not trying to defend it. It's just like in my head, I was saying I understand where Bert is coming from, and that I sound very, very hypocritical with the 2 points that I'm making.
I will say, throw it in my hat on it. On one point, I played a lot of Pathfinder. Never played 3 or 3.5, but it was nice. Like Acadius Aves, this wizard was first made in Pathfinder, and I said I want to be a conjurer who hates animals, and mechanically that was absolutely there, and I could make the character that I really, really wanted. But then on the other hand, with 5th edition, there's no punishment for doing something suboptimal. And I think that's kind of freeing too. So I definitely see both sides of that conversation where, yeah, I could make whatever the hell I want in like Pathfinder. But the nice thing is I can, play whatever I want in 5th edition, and I'm not going to get punished for it. Did I drop out?
No, you didn't. I was just kind of contemplating
it was a good
your
point.
point.
We were all thinking about it.
Okay. And actually, I got a fun little story about my transition from the current campaign from Pathfinder, current group from Pathfinder to 5th edition. When I started up the group, I was kicking around like, do I want to try 4th edition again? Do I want to Pathfinder? Do I want to stick in 5th edition, which was I was currently running that for another group. So I put it out to the players, what do you want? And there's this one player that was Pathfinder. I want to do Pathfinder. And I know that this player was a real munchkin, just min-max everything. And I'm like, all right, we can Pathfinder, but I want you to know that I'm gonna house rule stuff. He's like, no trouble. Like, that's great. So we start playing, and as we're playing through, just kind of, there was a couple new players at the table, and just how they play and how I played, I started house ruling stuff. And then some of my house rules broke other things in 3rd edition, or I'm sorry, in Pathfinder, and they just hopped on it. And they tried to abuse it, and they tried to really manipulate my house rules to manipulate the main rules. And so I house ruled out what they were trying to break. And one night I was sitting there looking at like 3 to 5 pages. It was somewhere in there of just house rules I had made to try and get this game to a point that worked really well for the party. And it dawned on me, like, I just recreated 5th edition, trying to streamline Pathfinder for this group. So the next time we played, I'm like, you need to remake all your characters in 5th edition, because next session we're switching. And 2 of the players walked out of the table right then and there. But so
yeah, I think that they're a lot closer than people believe them to be.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the concepts that make up both games are present in both games. And obviously, like 5th edition came after 3.5 and 4E and mixed a lot of elements. There was a good discussion about it in the Discord the other day about just how 5th edition was an amalgamation of basically the good bits of all prior editions and a dropping of a lot of the really superfluous and rule-heavy and time-consuming minutia stuff that we've been talking about.
Right.
And I think it has done a great deal of good for D&D, making it less, I guess, like stigmatized, like overall. Just the idea that to play D&D, you have to be sitting there with 30 pages of notes and a TI-84 and an Excel spreadsheet and all that, which I love. I love doing that just as much as I love playing like a Fate 2D6, like fuck off, no numbers mean anything type of system. Like, I don't know. I just have 3.5 in my head exactly where I want it all to be. And also, the books are quite affordable, and I have so many of them, and I just don't want to start buying new books.
That was I vowed, because I grew up playing 2nd edition, and when my friends and I heard that there was a 3rd edition coming out, we vowed never to play it, because we had all the books. We had the basic books. We had all of the Encyclopedia Magica. We had 3 or 4 box campaign settings. We had all of the player's guides. And we were like, there's no way we're going to rebuy this and learn a new game. Screw them.
When I introduce new people to role-playing, what I have them do is to go to the Wizards of the Coast site and download the free basic Dungeons & Dragons. It is a complete, free, wonderful set of rules that strip out all the optional stuff that you get in the main.
It's so goddamn good. I've done the exact same thing as you, Bert.
Yeah. When you do this, you are basically playing basic Dungeons & Dragons from back in the day with all of the modern refinements of, throw Thaco out. It's all on a D20. What you roll is what you hit. But so, yeah, and that, in my opinion, is the great thing about 5th edition. Here, free, and you can do everything you want with it.
This gives me an idea. maybe we should at some point, we don't have to do it now, but what if we try every single version or edition of D&D and we look at the rules and the game itself, not worry about the quest or this or that and whether or not we had fun playing whatever said adventure was, and we look at the rules and break it down.
I love that idea, and if we did that, I would want to go back through 3.5. If we did them in order, like AD&D 1, 2, 3, 4, 3.5, you know, and going through 3.5 in that sense, I would have us play by every single rule.
Oh dear.
Because that would be a game that none of us came away from happy.
I would do you one better. If anyone is interested, on Saturday the 6th, I am part of a Facebook group that explores BX Dungeons & Dragons, which is the basic expert set, the red and blue books. There were only ever 2 of them, where we've got a game set up. If anyone wants to join it, wants to check out what basic Dungeons & Dragons was back in the day, you're welcome to.
Oh, wow.
I'm absolutely
my favorite version of Dungeons & Dragons by far is those 2 books.
Really? What does it do? Like, that's so fantastic.
Streamlined, simplified. It was cohesive in 2 books. It gave you basically everything you needed without a lot of rules bloat. The difference is race is class. So if you wanted to play elf, elf is your race and class. Elf is basically a multi-class fighter, magic user, or fighter cleric, depending on how you want to do it. Yeah. Dwarf is its own class as well as race, etc. It does initiatives by side, which makes things go fast. Roll a d6. Who's got the highest? Your side goes first. Now, who wants to go first on your side is up to you guys. So that adds a lot of role-playing element where you can decide to act as a team by letting certain people go first and certain people lag behind, etc. It makes everything very fast that way. It's also very lethal. Early Dungeons & Dragons, very unforgiving. When you have enough hit points that a domestic house cat can take you out.
Hey, those things are dangerous.
Right?
But it is also an ethos because if you've ever read a wonderful little treatise called A Primer on the OSR, explaining exactly how these games were played back in the day, since you didn't have a list of skills and you would situate what you want to do to make as few rolls as possible. For instance, if I'm a thief and I have an ability to open locks, but a first level thief only has about a 6% chance of opening a lock or disarming a trap. So instead of relying on 6% chance, what I would tell the dungeon master is I am tipping the chest over and I'm cutting the bottom out. No roll needed because I know the trap is in the lock. Lock's in the dirt. He's fine. No roll needed.
Oh, wow.
And so specificality was very important. The more that you could put something in your favor so no dice roll was needed, the better off you were.
See, I love that concept of like the creative sideways thinking, but I also feel like it's very hard to toe that line without metagaming.
Well,
because
it really isn't.
If there's no role that reveals to your character's knowledge that there is a trap inside the lock, and then you, as a character, know you only have a 6% chance of succeeding. Your character probably doesn't know that he has an exactly 6% chance. He knows he probably can't do it, you know.
But he knows he's not good at it. Because for the very reason that he's practiced, and he's like, oh, I know I'm not good at opening a lock, so therefore I'm not going to open this lock. It's perfectly reasonable.
And see, it just feels like it feels unsatisfying to me. I mean, at least at the low level, the way you're describing it, to be a thief and have you not be good at least a little bit at opening locks.
Yeah, because if you look at the progressions of Dungeons and Dragons, what it has gone from is being people that had a lot of time on their hands, who could invest a lot of time in a character, developing slowly over time, to what we have now. And let's face it, you're playing hero porn. First level characters in most modern games, you are exceptional. You are a hero with a big H.
Yeah.
And that is a big difference in how games are played today. Well, played then.
Well, wait till we play Zweihander, because it is damn deadly, and I might just kill you all.
It is deadly, but even so, even a first level Zweihander character is still a damn hero. Well, compared to the farmer in the field, compared to the urchin, because they give you stats on these, your character is still a hero in comparison.
Yes, because you do have we'll call them quote unquote abilities that yes, a farmer wouldn't have, right? You're given a special ability that you could use out of the gate.
Yep.
Well, this leads very well into the next point that I would like to go over on my list here. So, what aspects or scenes from this game that we just played through would have gone over differently, or how would they have gone over in the systems of your choosing?
Well, actually, I'm glad that our DM rolled with me, saying, "Hey, I'm taking a spell components pouch," because that's how I would do it in an old school game. And the GM here chose to use GM Fiat to say, "Yeah, that sounds good. I enjoyed that."
Yeah, I generally I don't remove the concept entirely from my games of spell components. I just kind of hand wave it, because with how many things you keep track of in 3.5, the exact amounts and gold prices of all of your components can just be overwhelming and a pain to replenish. I generally also don't track ammunition as well, like arrows and crossbow bolts and whatnot. But it doesn't mean that you don't have them. Like, someone could take your quiver of arrows or your bolts or your throwing stars or your magic pouch. So it's like what I was saying earlier, like, it's a framework to build those narrative moments off of. Like, I wasn't having him reduce the ashes of a bat and the crystals from his character sheet, but he had them on his person so that you could do something badass,
Right. So you use the rule of cool. Like, this normally doesn't matter, but for this scene, it matters.
Yeah.
I agree with Bert here. I think we're getting to more of DM craft, right?
Right. Yeah.
And
I was about to say the same thing.
I agree with Bert 100%, and I don't know if all of our styles are like that, but I go the same kind of way as Bert and Seth here. It's like if a player comes up with something really cool and out of the norm, let's go with it. Let's see how this plays out, because you're excited, I'm excited, you're in control. This game is for you. Let's see what happens, right? And instead of being like, well, the rules don't really have that. And,
I am terribly sorry. I will mute these dogs.
I think that's important. I learned a few years ago. I was learning how to play the Fantasy Flight Star Wars game, and I thought, what better way to learn than play? And I found a pickup game in Roll20. I joined this guy's one shot, and we get into this game, and we break into a hangar, and there's an ATST in there. I use my rolls. I have to use lockpick or whatever to get into this thing. Ace it. I get in there. He makes a super high difficulty for me to turn this thing on. I roll the best possible roll there is. I turn on this ATST. I point towards the doors where I know the stormtroopers are coming out. I'm like, hey, I'm aiming it on there. As soon as anything appears, I open fire. And the guy goes, okay, stop. Listen, we're playing a one shot. This isn't really written there. So let's just get back on track, and we'll just ignore that, and you guys can just go in the hallway. And I was shattered. I was like, I am never going to do that to a player.
No.
Ever.
That is the worst, dude. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It was my vow to never do that to a character ever. I was excited. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm making these rolls. These are near impossible. Let's do this. I'm gonna kick ass right out of the gates. And
right.
Dude, let's go back to the one shot. This isn't planned, this isn't accounted for.
Yeah, that's absolutely terrible. Anything that you do as a dungeon master that gives you the feeling that you had that moment is a failure on your part. Whether it was in the bounds of the rules or within the writing of the story, you have failed.
Yeah.
I feel bad for him, because he obviously was not prepared and he didn't know how to handle it. But there are two things about that for DMs. The first is that you never let your players know you're unprepared. You always roll with it and pretend like you're on top of it.
Yep.
And the second thing is, especially if it's a one-shot, let them mess things up. Let them get in there and dig into it and just ruin everything, because that's fun for them. They get to interact with 100%. The world, and it feels tactile. It feels like it responds. Let them just go with it.
Does anybody have any insights into that question, or was it poorly phrased?
Give it to me again.
How would this game have gone differently in the systems that you are going to choose to DM? Like any specific scenes, or how would encounters have gone through, or what would you have done as a dungeon master in your system for whatever point in this game you wanted to talk about?
In 5th edition, this game would have gone almost 100% the same. Because of the way you ran it, and you ran it, like you said, a little bit more streamlined, like you knew what you needed. The only difference between your game and my game would be just the ACs and the numbers needed to hit.
Yeah. That's pretty fair.
I'm trying to think with Zweihander. There'd probably be a lot more investigation, just because the system kind of goes towards that way. It doesn't have to, but it's kind of built that way, and a lot more intrigue and MacGuffins and false trails and things like that you'll usually find, because it's more about the people and the situations, and nobody really trusts one another in this really grim and dark world, and combat is usually not a common thing. So maybe that's the only way it would have been a little different. It would have been more investigative, but I thought it was fine the way we went through it and played it and ran it.
Now, is that because of how you run Zweihander, or because of how the system's set up?
It's the way the system's set up, but you can do it any way you want, right? Like any game is just like, here's a toolkit, right? And just go with it. Like it's just kind of like the default setting, so you don't have to do it that way.
I just wonder, like, if I picked up Zweihander for the first time, I've never played it, and I was going to run the game myself, whether I would run it more like D&D or, like you said, more investigative about the people.
You could, but I don't know of anybody who would run a traditional dungeon crawl in it, because you'd probably die by like the second room. Like,
gotcha.
It's not built for that type of game. You could do it though. It's not saying that you can't.
Right. And D&D can work the other way, but it doesn't excel at the social stuff the same way that Zweihander probably doesn't support the combat, or like not support, but push. Emphasize is a better word.
Because like in this, so like in Zweihander, for example, social class is a really big part of it. So we would have been talking to and dealing with the mayor and Lithicum and or Lithicum, Missouri, and Linksys Router. Their social class would affect your roles against them when you were investigating them or talking to them. Like you're almost intimidated by their social standings if you're just like a lowborn or something.
That's interesting. And I wish there was a bit more of that in D&D sometimes.
That's something that I've always found to be one of the big flaws of every D&D system I've played, is that it feels very, I guess, self-defeating for a role-playing game to also have the capacity for rolls of the dice to determine like emotional or like character-based outcomes. Like to change somebody's mind can be determined by a roll. And I know that's a core mechanic of the game, and that it is relatively balanced the way it is set. But I've always disliked that. I mean, unless you're a really, really good dungeon master and you have really, really good backup plans for very, very specific conversational aspects of how things are going to go, like it seems very difficult to be strong-willed when someone can just have a plus 11 to persuasion and come in and roll a natural 20, and it's like, no, you agree with what I say now.
Right. I mean, it all boils down to the fact that at the heart of it, D&D is a combat game more than anything else.
And like Bert said, to also make you feel like a hero out of the gates.
Right.
It does that very well.
Yeah.
It sells that.
No, I agree entirely with Bert's point. And my personal ethos in all role-playing games is that, well, specifically D&D, because it's the one that I run almost exclusively, is I always start by telling my players that D&D is a game about heroes. And to be a hero, you have to overcome great challenges. And so over the course of this game, I will attempt to challenge you greatly. And if you don't succeed, then you are not a hero. That is basically like my intro line for every game ever. I think I said something along those lines at the start of this bit, but I completely agree with that. And that is something that I love about it. As much as it takes away from some of the immersion and realism of like being a human, or like a person, or whatever you are, whatever race you have, like in a group of people, like having some equals, you know? But I don't know. I really like that feeling.
So the game I'm going to run is Delta Green, which is not a fantasy game. So if I may.
Oh yeah, go to town. Tell us how would this have gone down in Delta Green?
So how this would have gone down is the agency would have gotten a report maybe by one of the residents of the community that got away from the community, and making a report on, there's something odd going on in my town. My memories don't match up to what's going on now. You know, these two people shouldn't be alive, yet they're here. So like maybe there is a field of interest, right? So once the person got out of town, their mind's no longer clouded. So they come to the agency starts off investigating. So it would be an investigation game from the get-go. And how I would see this would go on is they'd find out that the two people are imposters, that they're necromancers, that they're using, some god awful tome to raise the dead and to enthrall this town. And the game will be about how do we unweave the spell they've cast on the town so that the town will come to their senses, to break the spell upon the town. That would be the legwork. That would be the optimal way that the game should go down. Now, Delta Green games don't always go as planned. So what would probably happen with 90% of the players I take through a Delta Green game, it would end up being the same combat at the end with machine guns, claymore mines, and a lot more tactics going in. Like, you would have already figured out what it is going to be in that room. There's going to be two people there. They're going to have these powers. We've got to cut off his ability to get away. There would have been a lot of planning. You would have planned it like a tactical mission, but it would have probably ended in that same scene.
Man, you've got me so goddamn hyped for Delta Green. Well, I really like all of that feedback, and it gets me very excited to play these other games. My next plot point, which is going to be something that all DMs can appreciate and understand, is I was going to break down for you guys all of like the branching points of this story and kind of explain all of the ways that this could have gone in my own mind. And if you guys have any questions about anything that happened that might have felt like a red herring or something that didn't get explained, feel free to ask me. But one of the things I think that I do pretty well as a dungeon master is I do this thing where I just throw a ton of NPCs at my party all at once, like right when they enter the adventure. Like when you guys got to the town, there was the mayor, the prince's little brother, all the characters in the Fighters Guild, Basil, like all these people. And basically, I just know in my mind that those are going to be the key players and however this goes down. And depending on who you guys like enjoy or don't enjoy or how you react to different characters, then I will kind of try to adjust the story accordingly. So for this specific example, you guys seemed kind of creeped out and stressed by the overt, like cheery, happy Lithian that came out at first. And the basis for this adventure, like the core bit that usually doesn't change, is that the little brother wants to kill the older brother because the older brother is so well loved. And the way that this played out, you guys were laughing very hard and seemed to really enjoy the Fighters Guild. So when the siege at the gate happened, the first time the little brother used his necromantic powers, Tillicum was the one who caught the flaming skeleton who killed him. And if you guys had not cared at all about the Fighters Guild and just hung out with the royal family on your first night and hung out with Lithian and really enjoyed him, it would have been Lithian who got caught by the skeleton. And then, for the rest of the story, it would have been Linksys Router would have been a lone agent from the beginning of the story. Like, Lithian would have been actual Lithian, but Linksys would have been the imposter the whole time. Mm. And basically, there's little stuff like that all the way through with, like, what characters would or would not have died depending on who you would or would not have liked. And, like, maybe Basil wouldn't have been there if you guys really thought his character was hilarious and you wanted him to go investigate with you, and then maybe he becomes a good guy. But that is the way I don't try to railroad, and I don't try to, run people along like, okay, my characters are going to do this, and then I'm going to do that, and then they're going to do this, and then I'm going to do that. But I try to have ways in my mind that the story can go in a narratively satisfying way based off of what I perceive my players to enjoy the most, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think that's critical for running any game.
That was a long rant, and I apologize.
No, don't apologize. No, I think that's a skill that you develop over time if you're running games, and it's a very important skill to have.
Yeah, it's something that every DM should try to develop during gameplay, is just learning how to give players multiple options and still manage to keep the plot moving forward.
I agree firmly. Do any of you have any questions about the plot? Is my next point on here? And I don't think that really makes any sense because you worked your way through it. And I did write this list while I was driving an 18-wheel vehicle.
Nice.
Don't admit that while on stream.
I guess that is a federal crime, so...
He's kidding.
In the driver's seat, but while parked with my air brakes fully engaged in neutral with my hazard lights on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Safety first.
The
I
next
thought you were just recording your voice.
the next bits that I have are basically, I mean, what the point of the whole breakdown is I would the 2 bullet points are introduction to next system and whatever other bullshit we think of.
Okay.
Well,
So if Matt would not mind giving us a brief or long-winded introduction to Zweihander, I would love to hear it.
crap. Are we playing that next, or are we throwing out to Twitterverse? What do we?
Oh yeah, we were gonna put it up on a Twitter poll. Shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And I believe we
think
are
our-
playing 5th edition on Saturday.
Yes, we
certainly
are.
Yes, some of you are playing Eberron. Why don't you guys talk about that? Seeing as how none of us are running it, but a bunch of you are playing in it.
I am going to be playing the country bard known as Bill E. Ray.
Oh man, I'm gonna be playing Bardbot 3000, Bardbot 3K. I play the electric guitar, and I still have not settled on a personality. I was really kind of kicking around the idea of stealing, was it Torg from Borderlands 2? Just that. But I'm just like, I really don't want to yell in a microphone for 4 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm
I-
still searching for that personality.
I like the
will
idea
also,
of being the text-to-chat voice.
Yeah.
I will also be a Warforged bard, known for my splendid vocals.
We will do a beautiful duet.
And we're
you go.
called the War Band.
Yes.
Pun intended.
Pun intended.
Check out our first album. It's on Spotify. It's called Warforged in Fire.
Shit. We're gonna get sued by
Keep
History
talking about
Channel
this.
for that one, yeah.
Probably.
Well, there you go. So Eberron this Saturday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on
No.
One Crit Wonders channel. No, I got the time wrong.
7 p.m.
7.
currently.
Yeah,
Oh, you guys are
7
doing it
Central.
7 p.m.? Oh, I thought you guys bumped it up even.
It's at, I know it's at 3 p.m. Alaska time.
We bumped it up and then we bumped it back, and now it's somewhere in between.
Yeah,
Make up your minds, guys.
we'll figure
We
it out.
will at some
We'll
point
tweet
on
it.
Saturday
Yeah.
play Eberron.
Yeah, I'm
And
looking
that
forward
will
to it.
be when we have One Crit Wonder and Khalil Robertson.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it'll be
Khalil will
nice.
finally make an appearance here.
Yes, he will.
One of our other cohorts.
And we'll be. This will be streamed. The Saturday game will be streamed from One Crit Wonders Twitch instead of mine. So change of venue.
Check us out then.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I don't know shit about Eberron.
Dude, I know nothing about Eberron besides that it's when Warforged entered the universe, and I like it.
Yeah, that's what I know. And they got trains, I think, which is,
Trains are cool.
Yeah, I was really confused at first because I always get Dark Sun and Eberron mixed up.
Those are two very different worlds.
Right, and I don't know shit about Dark Sun either. Like, I'm like, is this the one where the halflings eat people? Or is it the other one?
Yeah, it's definitely the other one.
Man, let's get some Dark Sun going. But to the next game, I guess the most important question is, who is prepped and ready to go, like, out of the gates? Who could run next week?
It sounds like Delta Green, Zweihander, and 4th edition are upcoming options.
They are
I
upcoming.
also could run 5th edition.
That's also true.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was thinking of running you guys through the Stranger Things starter set.
Oh, shit,
look
dog.
at
I would
this.
be so on top of that.
That's
But
pretty
that
cool.
doesn't have to be next. It can happen whenever we get time.
When does that Stranger Things starter set hit the...
May 1st.
So, I guess seeing as we would be some of the first people playing it,
Just
right?
saying,
Yeah,
my
we'd have
biggest-
to get the hype machine working on that
Yeah.
one for more than 7 days.
I'm just saying, my highest viewed games have been ones where I was the first person to ever run them.
I think we should get on that. Like,
that could
Yeah.
be lucrative if you're looking for clicks.
I
Yeah,
think
totally,
so.
dude. Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do that. You volunteered yourself,
All right.
All
I'll do
right,
it.
next week we're playing Stranger Things.
and we all definitely need to be tweeting the shit out of it. That'll be fun, man.
We might have to find a slightly different time slot.
The only concern also about it, that's fine, different time slot, is I know if you play like video games and stream them before street dates, you will get strikes and hits, and you'll be asked to take it down. So that might happen for us as well. I'm just throwing it out there.
I bought it legally,
but so do these people. Usually, some mutt puts a game out early. It's sitting in the back room, and they buy it legally. But they go
hold on.
online.
You said it goes for a sale on the 3rd, right? Which is Wednesday.
The 1st of May.
Of May.
But
the thing is, I have found multiple copies out there. It's not hard to find.
That's my only concern, is that if we do want to stream this on some of our channels for the people who do stream, or if you want to upload it as a podcast, you might get a like a cease and desist or something. Or
dude, let's fucking fight
channel.
The man. Let's do it anyway. Rebel Radio, fucking Darknet shit.
Rebel Radio.
Well, when I do my streams, I record it at the same time. So we'll stream it until they say stop, and then we'll just sit on those YouTube videos until it hits.
Hell yeah, dude.
Okay.
That's the kind of backwards ass sabotage shit I'm talking about.
So is it decided then we're doing 5e Stranger Things? Is that what we want to do?
Yes.
Oh, I'm so goddamn pumped.
That's
dude.
going to be great.
Play bad.
I haven't even unboxed it yet. I'm going to record myself unboxing on Sunday. And then I'll be able to do prep, and I'll be able to run it later in the week. And it uses pre-gens. So I need to see how many pre-gens are in there as well.
Okay, you're going to need to send us that video as soon as it goddamn drops. I mean, I'm sure it'll be in the Discord.
Right.
Yeah, it'll be in the Discord.
Well, this is a great test, too, because if you put that out before we start our stream, we'll know if we're going to get in trouble for it. Because you'll get in trouble first.
Funny.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's pretty much everything we've got. I mean, the last bullet point is whatever other bullshit we think of, and we did just think of some bullshit. So
we did.
I think we've accomplished everything we set out to do. My final thing, and this was DM Chuck's idea, I believe, but on a scale of 1 to 10, what do all of you guys give D&D 3.5 / Pathfinder?
Oh.
Man, can we break that out into 2 different rating systems? Because
okay, just D&D 3.5 because I used very, very minimal Pathfinder bits.
No, I'm good. Can we rate the game, and then can we rate the person who ran the game?
Ooh, okay, yeah. I'm super egotistical, so come at me with ratings.
Okay.
Me, bro.
My vote for 3.5 mechanically, I'd put it like a good 6. Like, it was a solid core, a little more complicated than I'd like, but I enjoyed it. Should I go next into how the person who ran the game scores?
Sure.
I would
go ahead and give
nothing
both.
more.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a hard fucking 10 there, man.
Oh my goodness.
It was great, and actually I don't
want this to be like video game rating systems where a 10 just means like acceptable and 9 means garbage. Like, we got to be honest.
No.
I do everything perfectly.
I really think so. Like, the entertainment was entertaining clear through, the action, the pacing, it was all really good. I really enjoyed your NPCs. There was a lot of really fun NPC interaction.
Well, thank you so much.
I'm actually going to be adjusting some of my shit to steal some of your shit. So
I love that.
You did good enough for me to rip you off. So congrats.
That's really the goal that we all have.
Right?
Yeah, learn from each other.
So that's what I got.
Well, thank you. It means a great deal to me. I've loved every iteration of Acadius I've got to play alongside with.
He'll come back whenever I can make him again.
Who's next?
I would say 3rd edition 3.x. I only used the player handbook for everything I did in this, and it was not very user friendly, but it was still a fun game. So I'd give it a 6 or 7. As for running the game, I think you did a phenomenal job. I didn't have any criticisms for your DM style. You were fun to play with. You rolled with the punches, even as I threw some crazy shit at you. And yeah, you did a great job.
I live for crazy shit, and thank you.
Okay, I'll go next. 3.5. Oh, where do I start? Or 3, whatever you want to call this. It's personally, it's not my kind of game I look to play or run anymore these days, like rules wise and crunch factor. So for me personally, I give it a 4, and that's nothing against like the way you ran it or anything. It's just the game itself. And me, I like Steven said, like trying to build a character online, I was like scratching my head.
Oh yeah, I have to. If we had a separate rating category for the Roll20 character sheet for 3.5, that'd be at a solid 1 for me.
Or even building character online, I used like a character builder and was like, what? And he even walked me through. It was like the idiot's guide to building a character, and I was still confused.
Damn.
Yeah, I was like right there with you.
Yeah, and it walked you through. It was like, oh hey, you forgot this. Oh hey, you still got more points for that. And I was like, huh? What? Why? Where's this coming from? I don't care. I'll just plug them in and move along. So yeah, the system for me, it was just a little too much on the crunch side for my own personal tastes.
Yeah, and I totally get that. We covered in depth how crunchy it can truly be, and I tried to remove as much of the crunch as I possibly could just for the sake of our listeners and for you guys not having played as much 3.5 as me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I completely understand.
So and for you running a game, fantastic. It is not my play or my DMing style at all, like to have that much humor and all that stuff that you threw in there. I loved it. I love playing a game like that. So it was great to play a game that was the characters are so lighthearted and there's a lot of humor and fun in there, but at the same time we were always on task. We were always working towards our goal. You're always, there's a few times I could tell like we didn't really know what to do. We were scratching our heads and you gave us those breadcrumbs. Like you weaved it in naturally. You give us those breadcrumbs to push us along.
I feel like the biggest mistake I made is I should have mentioned as you guys were coming up the road that there was a cemetery, and I forgot about it until you guys were like, well, shit, how do we investigate? And I was like, man, I didn't tell them the one place. And then I just said to you guys blatantly, there is a cemetery. And then you guys were like, oh, we'll go to the cemetery. And I was like, I'm a dickhead.
No, we've all been there. We've all done that. I've made a mistake.
Oh yeah.
And it's not that big of a deal, but I mean,
yeah,
I get what you're saying.
So I thought you did a fantastic job. Super good. And I am also going to steal some things from you and add them to my repertoire. So thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Believe me, am I up?
Yep.
Bert, they were all way too nice. I need you to tear me down. I know you've got 10 years of every goddamn game under the sun, and I know that you've found flaws.
Hey, I wasn't nice about 3.5 or 3.
So 3.5, it's a solid system. It's playable. I mean, it works. It's not my cup of tea, but it's solid. So I'll give it a 6, maybe a 7. It's playable. It's solid. It's just not my cup of tea. I'm not going to count it down for that. It may be someone else's cup of tea. But it works. So there, 7. GM style. Yeah, I'm gonna ding you on one thing. So I'm not giving you a 10. I'm gonna give you a 9. Okay. So it's just still really good. So the one thing that I didn't enjoy because it pulled me out of the game was the names. Linksys router. I'm great with your humor. Your humor was awesome. I enjoyed it. I think I would not have liked it if we were playing an ongoing campaign. I think it would have grated on me. But for a single shot or a story arc, awesome.
Yeah,
but
and that's honestly the way that I constructed them. I had some names written down, and much like Matt, I kind of lost some of my notes. So the only one I remembered was Lithian. And I know that the Baron or Mayor was Sumpata and the Tillicum, and I had names for the Drow family as well in the Fighters Guild, but we said once we got the Craig bot in Discord that one of the characters had to be Craig, so I named him Craig. And I completely agree. In a longer form, more serious type of campaign, I would have had a much more thought out like naming convention system, and I completely understand.
That's my only thing is the names kind of drew me out. I love your characterization. I love the big brute from the Fighters Guild that was more than a big brute. Everybody loved him. I liked the characterization. I liked that your NPCs had some backstory. Just the names. Just every time someone said like Linksys router, my teeth would grate. Other than that, awesome, man.
Well, thank you so much.
And also, we do have to point out, you did such an amazing job while under constant threat from Sarah Palin, which is impressive.
She's actually, guys, I wish I could turn on my webcam in Roll20. She's right behind me. Well, with all of that, I think all we can truly do now is, you guys want to do some more scat outro music?
No.
Hard no.
Didn't you record us last time? Weren't you going to mix this together for us?
You know, the funny thing is, I didn't know that Craig only saved these recordings for 7 days.
Oh, man.
Ooh. Well, Chuck's got them.
Yeah, you can.
He's got the
Oh,
masters.
dude, do you really?
I recorded all of these, so yeah.
Oh, my guy. Okay, well, I've got the last... I've got last week and this week, but the first two, I didn't realize that they went away so fast, because I was going to try and drop them all just like on the same day as just like a little mini series on my feed, and I was just going to do it after it had concluded.
If you want, I've got these all on my YouTube, or I can get you the full videos. We'll find a way to transfer them to you.
Yeah, we'll figure that. I'll just
strip
message
the
you on
audio
Discord
out of
about
them.
that.
Yeah.
Well,
Cool.
it has been a pleasure for you guys, and it's funny with the rating system. I have played 3.5 for probably 95+% of my tabletop career, and I would still gave it the same about rating as you guys would. I would put it in like the 6.5 to 7.5 range, and just because it took me 3 years of playing regularly before I felt like I really truly understood what was going on and why, and what the mechanically was driving what things to occur. And it took me another 2 years after that probably to feel comfortable running a game. And then, the last 5 years have been running games constantly. So I know the numbers well enough now that I'm very comfortable with it. And it's the system that I most enjoy playing and I'm most comfortable introducing people to playing. But I agree that from a mechanical and from a, pick up the box and buy it standpoint, I wouldn't rate it higher than a 7.5 at the peak of my enjoyment.
All right then.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So let's say watch Twitter for the announcement of what day and time we're going to be playing the next game, because it will change.
Yes, I will. So
It'll be the best place to keep on top of your Notorious DMG news.
Yep.
And announcements.
Follow all of us on Twitter.
That's right.
Yeah, follow all of us on Twitter at BERTISLA3 for Bert, which I will have ingrained into my mind forever, because it was a long journey for me to discover your Twitter handle.
Yeah, I don't use it much. I just basically post when new episodes are up, and that's it.
We've got at Defenders of Cobalt,
Nope.
I believe.
Nope, at Cobalt Defenders.
Oh, shit. All right. I believe at Jowz3 or Jowzam3.
Jowzam3.
Nice. And Steven the DM, I think you're just at Steven the DM.
I keep it easy.
And I am at Monday Nights PC because, as I've mentioned before, all possible social media usernames, the Monday Nights, are taken by a group of people from Portland, Oregon, who in 2012 made a short web series about themselves LARPing.
That's fantastic.
Does this
So
still
now
exist? On the internet?
They have not tweeted or performed any online activity since 2012, and no one will return my customer service emails about getting those usernames. So,
That's great.
well,
Cool.
thank you both. Thank everybody here for playing, and I'll see you all next week.